PlayStation 5 Pro is starting to have a real problem on their hand, and I'm not sure that Sony even cares. We have another example of a game that is running potentially worse on PlayStation 5 Pro, and sadly, it's not the first, it's not the second, it's not even the third. This is in a long lineup of games that are running worse on PlayStation 5 Pro. But before we get into it, if you enjoy my videos, maybe this is your second or hopefully even third time watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. It really helps me out as a small channel. Also, like the video. That also helps out too. Really appreciate it. So let's talk about PlayStation 5 Pro. This is the second time Sony has done a Pro console. Of course, the PlayStation 4 Pro back during that generation was pretty interesting and new ground for the console space. And it was pretty exciting at the time because that was right around the time that 4K TVs were starting to become more commonplace because they were cheaper to get and also just getting pretty good overall. And so with PS5 Pro coming out last year, it's a little interesting just because I feel like the hype is a little bit different. This feels much more enthusiast grade, and mainly because I think the jump to PS4 Pro might have been a little more obvious because of that move over to 4K TVs. But now, during the advent of the PS5 Pro, people have really nice TVs, particularly a lot of gamers with OLEDs, high refresh rates, quick response times, all the niceties of a modern TV. And so I think the sell on a PS5 Pro was a little bit more difficult. Mark Cerny in the initial reveal was talking about how games on PlayStation 5 have a performance mode and they have a quality mode. And a lot of times people don't like choosing between the two. They want to have the quality and the performance at the same time. I'm one of those people as well. And so the promise of the PlayStation 5 Pro is like, hey, we're going to give you a Pro mode. You should be able to have the quality of the standard PS5 with the better performance that you want to see. With that, though, comes a great cost. Of course, when the console launched, $699, uncharted territory, really, in the modern era of consoles to be that expensive. Of course, the PlayStation 3 notoriously was also very expensive, but things have changed, but it seems like we're going back to this high console price. If you want those frames, you want that resolution, you're gonna pay for it. And then when the PS5 Pro finally came out, it seemed like the results overall were a bit mixed. We had some examples of games being absolutely excellent. Something like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth comes to mind. There was just a revolution on how much better it performed, how much better the image quality was. And other games that were just kind of, nice, but not necessarily justifying that increased price tag. But early on, we started to get our first few glimpses of certain titles just simply not looking quite as they should on PlayStation 5 Pro. For me, I remember the earliest example was Silent Hill 2 Remake, which really just had a poor implementation of PSSR. I remember there was a lot of talk about these puddles and this opening scene just not looking quite like you'd expect. And I remember at the time on Sacred Symbols, the PlayStation podcast I'm a part of, that you should absolutely check out, being like, this is absolutely ridiculous. You have customers that are paying a premium, probably even their second PlayStation 5, and they're having games come out that are not as good or have clear issues. That doesn't sound like a very good way to reward that customer for the purchase of a premium console. And I get it. I think Mark Cerny has specifically said that they are letting the improvements be up to the developer themselves. Sony's not going to go in and tell you how to implement PS5 Pro features, but I sort of feel like there's a missing step in here where games need to go through certification to make sure that they are running properly and that they work on the PlayStation, arguably to varying degrees, but it seemed like there's not really any kind of quality check for PlayStation 5 Pro. And that has continued since the launch of the system. And there has been numerous examples. Black Ops 6 notoriously had weird frame rate issues on PlayStation 5 Pro. The Avatar game had weird PSSR flickering in its foliage. Alan Wake 2 also, when it launched, definitely looked not so hot on PlayStation 5 Pro. I believe Star Wars Outlaws was also an example, but maybe that's been fixed at this point. Most recently, though, and I did a video about this, is that the Metal Gear Solid Delta release, where the PS5 Pro sure has better resolution, but just overall runs at a lower frame rate than the standard PS5. And I can see a perspective that's like, well, it's only running a little bit worse, and a lot of these cases, the problems aren't like in your face bad, right? But the point is, the PlayStation 5 Pro is not meant to be the mass market PlayStation 5. It's meant for the nerds like me that care about that performance. And so I think in particular, it is important, even if these details are minor, the customers, the people, the target audience for this product are the people that are going to notice these things. So that leads to the most recent and fresh example is Silent Hill F. At the time of me recording this, just released last night at midnight for the early access period. And Digital Foundry and other outlets have done reports that the PS5 Pro version has weird PSSR issues. You can see particularly in the grass. I saw it last night when I was playing, flickering in and out. And I have about, an hour and a half into the game. This issue is, I would say, minor so far because it was only really in that opening area where there was grass that it was flickering, but I know that later portions of the game are going to have more environmental aspects that this could absolutely affect. So it's annoying because last night when I sat down to play, I saw these reports come out and I thought, do I get out my standard PlayStation 5 to play this so I don't have to deal with this flickering issue? That shouldn't even be a thought in my mind for how much I paid extra for this console. And it's even worse now, too, because the price of the PlayStation 5 Pro has gone up. It's $749 now. And one of the even crazier things to me is that we now have a few examples of big AAA releases that just aren't even doing actual PS5 Pro support. Most recently, Borderlands 4, which has a host of issues non-related to the Pro features, but also Dying Like the Beast, no PS5 Pro support officially. Now, to be fair, these games do benefit from the increased performance of a PlayStation 5 Pro, just kind of raw dogging it, but they do not have actual PlayStation 5 Pro support. So how do we solve this? What is there to do? And it's one of those things like, what can we do at this point other than not buy games that have crappy PS5 Pro implementations? The sad part is a lot of people bought, myself included, a PS5 Pro based on our experience with PS4 Pro, which I would say was solid overall. I think there were also some examples of maybe a few games running worse on PS4 Pro, but nowhere near to this degree. My ideal solution, and I'm just a guy sitting here in a room talking to a microphone. I'm not a developer. I've never made a console before. So maybe this is completely stupid, but this seems feasible to me. What I would do is that Sony, I think, should avoid they can't avoid it at this point. It's already here, is that the word is out that a lot of PS5 Pro games not running as good, asking for a premium price. These things are all bad. To me, why is it not part of the certification process that if you are releasing a PS5 Pro certified game, that somebody during the certification process at Sony can look at the two modes and say, okay, the PS5 Pro mode, it must run better than the PS5 standard mode. It's tough. I know that I can already feel a little bit of the cracks in my argument because it's like subjective. It's like, well, are we preferring frame rate? Are we preferring resolution? But I think even it's not necessarily even that crazy. All you need to do is look at some of this footage here and be like, oh yeah, that's a problem. And I get it. It's not Sony's job to do QA on third-party games. They are kind of, doing their own thing. Sony's just the platform holder. So I understand that. But at the same time, it's like, dude, Sony, you're the one selling this PS5 Pro as the premium experience. And if the big games that people are buying either don't have PS5 Pro support, or when they buy them, it looks worse, that's an optical problem for the device. So yeah, it's a frustrating situation, and just too many examples recently. It can't be really ignored. I think it needs to be said. It's like, dude, we got to get this together. People are spending so much money now. Money is so tight. And it just sucks when you buy things and they are subpar. And so I would like to see better. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. What do you think about this PS5 Pro controversy? Do you even have a PS5 Pro? Actually, the main question I want to know is that if you haven't bought a PS5 Pro, has the news about these games running worse affected your decision? Because that's the main thing that I'm saying here, is that the Sony has an optical problem for selling this device if this keeps happening to various degrees. So let me know down in the comments. I would really appreciate it. And as I said earlier, if you could subscribe to the channel, it helps me out. We're just a small little growing channel right now, and any support is greatly appreciated. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.